Hey there, Mike Robbins here, coming to you live on Monday, 9:30 a.m. Pacific time. What's today? Monday, November 23rd. If you're joining live, just go ahead and say hello. Would love to hear from you on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, wherever you might be. I want to talk about a couple of things that are on my mind as we start this Thanksgiving week here in the United States. So I don't know about you, but I've been having kind of a hard time. And this is not the first time I've been having a hard time in my life, obviously, but over the course of the last. Hey, Veronica, good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Happy almost Thanksgiving. Over the past, 8+ months that we've been in the pandemic, I've definitely been on an emotional roller coaster, as I think just about every human that I know has been, personally, professionally. And there's something about this moment that we find ourselves in right now as we move into the holidays. Thanksgiving's coming up here in the US on Thursday. Christmas is a month and 2 days away. And I just keep thinking about this. Hey, Thurston. Hey, Ian, Jesse, Teresa, good to see you. Thanks for joining. I just want to come on and say to you and to me and to all of us, like, it's okay if you're not doing okay. Because, hey, Meredith, good to see you. This is a hard time for a lot of us for a lot of different reasons. And I think that, hey, Sylvia, happy Thanksgiving to you and your family as well. I think there's, I know for me, sometimes there's a tendency to feel like I have to be good. Things have to be good. Let's go. It's, look, I'm a motivational speaker, right? It's part of my work, and not only that, but my life. And as we go into the holidays, hey, Patricia, there's a lot of sadness that many of us are feeling. I think a lot of loss in the world, a lot of pain in the world, a lot of disappointment. Look, the reality is lots of people are traveling, even though I know the Center for Disease Control here in the US is really encouraging people not to travel because of the spike in the virus. But many of us aren't traveling or seeing our extended family or friends or what we would normally do for Thanksgiving. We had to call a family meeting at my house yesterday just to talk a little bit, just kind of setting expectations and talking about Thanksgiving in this week, and the girls are off school, and then over December and the holidays. And, and we said to them, look, in a perfect world, we'd love to get on an airplane and fly somewhere tropical right now. Those of us who are fortunate enough to do that, just go somewhere, just get away from it all. But that's not what we're going to do, because that's not safe, and that's not what we feel is responsible. So we're not going to do that. We were trying to figure out some plans where we could maybe take an RV to go see our friends in Colorado or have them come out. But we all just sort of collectively decided, you know what, we're just going to stay put and, be here, be home. But I think, again, look, first world problems, right? There are people who are sick. There are people who are dying. There are people who've lost their jobs. There's people who've lost their businesses. There are people who are in harm's way. So again, we don't want to get into comparative suffering. And it's not that our own challenge or our own pain or even our own suffering isn't real. It is. But like, I've just been noticing my own mental, emotional well-being or lack thereof, and looking at and talking to Michelle and our girls and just about everybody I know, there's this kind of malaise, right? Thurston, you're talking about emotional malaise. Life isn't fun. I heard someone say something the other day that they were quoting someone that says, you need to have something to do. Maybe it was an Irish poet that Joe Biden was quoting. I can't remember anyway. Something to do, someone to love, and something to look forward to. And, some of us are fortunate enough still have something to do. although it may be disrupted in a certain way. Hopefully, most of us are fortunate enough to have someone to love. And the thing about looking forward to, that's the challenge, I think, for most of us. Like, what are we looking forward to? We're looking forward to, I don't know, being on the other side of this. When is that? Is that in, February, March, June, July, September? I have no idea. And it just seems like, oh my gosh, this is. So again, I don't mean to wallow in it or whine about it, but I think it's really important that we acknowledge any difficulty, any challenge that we're having. We're not weird, we're not wrong, we're not bad, we're just human. And most people that I know, to some degree or another, are struggling. So the more compassion we can have for ourselves and others, the better. I was listening to Tim Ferriss. That was his podcast over the weekend. He interviewed Dax Shepard, who I love. I love Dax's podcast as well. But Tim quoted Jack Kornfield, who I've gotten to know a little bit over the years and have seen speak a number of times. And Jack is one of the co-founders of the Spirit Rock Zen Meditation Center out here in Marin County, where I live. And Tim used this great quote from Jack that I hadn't heard before. He said, if your compassion doesn't include yourself, it's incomplete. So if your compassion doesn't include yourself, it's incomplete. What that means is a lot of us can feel a lot of compassion right now for people suffering in the world, for people, again, who are sick, people who are struggling, people who've lost loved ones, people who are out of work, people who are all the different things that are going on. But we got to have that compassion include ourselves. And it's okay if you're not okay. It's okay to not be okay. It's okay to be struggling, to raise your hand and say, I'm having a hard time. I could really use some help. I could really use some love and support. And I know the hard part is that a lot of us are feeling a sense, I know I am, a little bit of empathy deficit, in that a lot of us are operating with a low or pretty empty tank. So we got to get creative on how we fill that up, who we reach out to, who we lean on. I really think this is also a time to go within, to be journaling, to be meditating, to be praying, to be just asking for guidance, for support in whatever way we can. And if we're feeling a sense of energy, if we're feeling a sense of buoyancy within ourselves in any given moment or in any given day, can we also reach out to and be there to be supportive of others, not as a way to bypass our own challenge or our own pain. We don't want to be in denial about it, but also one way, and this is paradoxical in a lot of ways, one way that we can really buoy ourselves is by showing up for other people and remembering that we're all in this together. We're not the only ones struggling. Things like, I know I've been struggling putting on weight and not being able to take it off, and not eating the way I want to, and just finding myself wanting to just be in sweats and be in blankets and on the couch watching Netflix and eating food, and simultaneously being aware of, like, that's not the healthiest activity for me. And also to have some compassion for, I'm not alone in that experience. I imagine some of you, maybe many of you, can relate to that. But again, self-compassion really has three components. It's self-awareness, being aware of, oh, I'm not being kind to myself, right? It's bringing in a sense of kindness, like we would be kind to a kitten or a child or a puppy, or right? And it's also understanding the common humanity. We're not individually suffering, even though we experience that way. It's part of the human condition. So that's a thing that's really been on my mind, is, can we be okay with ourselves? Can we be okay with each other? Can we give ourselves a break and have as much compassion for ourselves as possible? And then as we move into this Thanksgiving week, again, if you live here in the United States, even with the stress of it, the challenge of it, the sadness of it, the disappointment, the probably not doing what you normally would do or seeing who you would normally see, how can we bring gratitude into our experience authentically? Remember, gratitude doesn't mean everything's great. Gratitude doesn't mean, I think of that song from the Lego movie, everything is awesome. We loved that song at our house a number of years ago. The girls, we would sing it. But everything is not awesome. Not only not right now, not ever. So again, that's Pollyanna. That's sort of fake positivity, toxic positivity. But choosing to, the first book that I wrote came out back in 2007. It's called Focus on the Good Stuff. That's actually hard to do, by the way. especially right now. Focus on the good stuff. Choose to focus on what's good, what we're grateful for, what we appreciate. Like if I ask you right now, with everything going on, the challenges, the stress, the disappointment, the sadness, the grief, the fear, whatever all it is. I mean, and again, maybe you're not experiencing all of that, but with everything that's happening, the division in our country, how or what specifically right now are you grateful for in your life? I'm grateful for Michelle, my amazing wife, for Samantha, our 14-year-old, for Rosie, our 12-year-old. I love those humans. They're the most important humans to me in the world. And I'm so grateful for them. I'm grateful for my health, that I'm healthy, they're healthy, we're healthy. I'm grateful for this incredible technology. I mean, I can sit here in my office, stare at my computer, and you can be watching this either live as I'm doing it or the video of it after the fact on your smartphone, on your tablet, on your computer, on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on YouTube. Like, how amazing is that? I mean, I just remember watching the Jetsons cartoon as a kid, and like they had video phones, and now we're all on Zoom all day and Skype and doing these things. I mean, it's really incredible what we can do to broadcast from my office like this. It's amazing. I'm grateful to live in this country. I'm grateful to live in this beautiful state of California, in this Bay Area county of Marin. And again, right, being grateful for your health and the health of your family and friends. Being grateful does not mean that everything's great. Being grateful does not mean we're not aware of the severity of what's going on in the world, aware of people's suffering, people's challenge, right? Right, Billy? It's a time to figure out where you're going with the rest of your human experience right now. So grateful for that, right? A lot of us, most of us have been forced to pause just in the and contemplate and rethink things, right? Thirsting, grateful for everything, but that still doesn't make me feel warm and fuzzy, right? It doesn't magically, oh, I feel so great. No, but gratitude is a really powerful energy. It's a generating energy. 8 books this year. How amazing is that? Congratulations. So again, it's a generating energy. If we come from a place of gratitude, we end up generating more things to be grateful for. Again, it's not, look, there's a tendency to be hesitant around gratitude, either because it doesn't seem like there's a lot to be grateful for, or I don't want to be, selfish or insensitive, or just look at my privileged self. I can talk about how grateful I am, and I don't care that other people are suffering. It doesn't mean all of that. Being grateful is actually choosing to stop and remember about the great fullness of life. The great fullness of life. One of the things I'm also grateful for is, as much as this year, this time, it sucks in so many ways. Let's be real. This is not ideal for any of us. And for some people, it's really, really, really bad. I'm grateful for the perspective. I was saying to Samantha, she and I were on a bike ride the other night, and I said, look, I know it's hard right now, and she's on Zoom for school, and we're not going to do anything besides sit at our house for Thanksgiving or go anywhere for the holidays. And she was, and I said, look, I don't mean to minimize the challenge of this or the disappointment of this. I was like, but this is going to be a one-time deal. As far as, I don't know, but I don't think we're going to have another Thanksgiving like this, or another Christmas or holiday season like this. So just think of how much fun it's going to be next year, right? And think of the things like, Veronica, back to practicing your French, right? Or Patricia, you're doing it up, Thanksgiving for 2, you and your little dog, right? I love that. You decorated your house for us this morning, poinsettias. Made sure I got enough food in case any of my neighbors are alone, right? Now, look, again, is it ideal? Probably not. Is it exactly the way, when I think back to, as we're getting into the holiday season and starting to think about New Year's already, but I'm just contemplating on thinking about how I felt at the beginning of this year, all the excitement, all of the hope, anticipation, goals, dreams, and so many of those things have not manifested or unfolded anywhere close to the way I thought they would, just like I'm sure is true for you, which is disappointing, which is sad. But think of the growth. Think of, right, what we've learned. All of the different things, right? And we get to bump up against, right, Thurston, even the frustration, even the, like, look, one of the things right now that I'm finding really challenging is all of this conversation about just like, I don't even want to go down this path at the moment, but just like all this conspiracy theory about this, about that, about who's doing what, and the us versus them energy is crazy making. And I participate in it just like we all do to some degree, but it's like, whoa, are we not learning about how we can have more space, more compassion for ourselves, for each other? Like, again, look, people are freaking out, myself included, and it's resulting in some pretty bizarre behavior at times, but like, I don't think any of us are completely in our right minds these days. And I say that with love and with compassion and with forgiveness. Like I said to Michelle yesterday, we had a moment where it just like some meltdowns in our house and some things. And I looked at her and I said, look, we have to remember none of us are at our best right now at all. Like, and I think it's important that we just acknowledge that with some compassion and not take it so seriously. It's like, it's like being intoxicated in a bad way or being, injured in a certain way, sort of, we're not at 100%. Think about it as an athlete, like playing not 100%. So I say all of this to you for a couple of reasons. First of all, I have an enormous amount of compassion for you. It's actually easier for me to have compassion for you at times than it is to have compassion for myself. But I think it's super important for all of us to have compassion for ourselves. It's okay if we're struggling. It's okay if we're not okay. It's okay if we are okay. It's okay if we're feeling great. But wherever we are on the emotional roller coaster at this moment and in the coming days and weeks as we move through the holiday season, remember the holidays bring up all kinds of stuff, always. Excitement, sadness, disappointment, joy, missing people that are no longer with us, or past relationships, or just times. It's a time of reflection. And this year, again, I think it's going to bring up a lot of sadness and a lot of disappointment because of the level of grief and everything that's going on and everything that we can't do. But I also think that it's important that when we can, look for things to be grateful for, not as a fixing it, not as a spiritual bypass from the pain, not as a Pollyanna, oh, everything's great, right? But as a real practice, can I look for and appreciate the simple things to be grateful for? Health, family, love, opportunity, another day to learn, to grow, to figure things out. We can do that. It's up to us. It's a choice. Everything really in life is a choice. And there's only really two things that we can control, as far as I have been able to figure out over all these years of looking at this and studying this and paying attention to it. We can control our attitude, right? Our attitude, our perspective, how we look at things, our mindset, and our effort. That's the other thing, what we do. So how we look at it and the actions that we take. So I didn't come on last week here on and to do a live, and I probably won't later this week, but I'll be back next week most likely. I appreciate you. I'm grateful for you connecting with me through Facebook or LinkedIn or YouTube and being interested in and engaged in my work. It matters to me. You matter to me. This work really matters to me, and I'm grateful and honored and blessed. I'm coming up on the end of my 20th year of doing this work, which blows my mind. But be well. Happy Thanksgiving to you and your family if you live here in the U.S. and celebrate Thanksgiving. If you live elsewhere in the world, blessings and gratitude to you as we go into the holiday season. Let's be kind and gentle with ourselves, and let's choose to look for that which we can be grateful for, even and especially in the midst of this very challenging and difficult time. All right. Take care.